Hello, welcome everyone. I am, of course, Sarah Snell Cook, your host at the Credit Union Connection. I was joined recently by Blue Stiley. He is a leadership coach, author, and motivational speaker. We discuss leadership, rejection, resilience, and how his life mirrors the Karate Kid. Let's connect with Blue. Hello and welcome everybody. I am Sarah Snell Cook, your host here at the Credit Union Connection. I am joined today by Blue Stiley. Welcome.
How
Hello.
are you, Sarah? Thank you so much for having me on.
It is great to have you. Now, you may not know Blue. He is a motivational leadership speaker, author, podcaster, a lot of things. Dad,
And a Star Wars fan.
Star Wars nerd, yes.
Yeah.
Give us a little bit of background on yourself and what you're doing.
Well, I am an ex-strength coach for Olympic athletes and a martial arts expert. I'm an actor and a model. I went to school thinking I was going to do international corporate law, and I ended up taking a completely different path, and I became a strength coach. And I loved that. I was working with Olympic athletes, with SWAT teams, with police units, and every single day talking about how to give a little bit better, right? And the things and the lessons that I was learning from those athletes, those high performers, I was actually applying throughout my life. But then those are the lessons and habits that I had learned from my instructor and everyone within the community that I grew up in, which was a dojo, which was martial arts. And I basically lived the Karate Kid life. Like I was picked on and made fun of because my name really is Blue. And a lot of people think that that's a really awesome name. And I agree. It's a wonderful name to go through life with, but it sucked as a kid. And I got beat up and picked on all the time. So my parents put me into martial arts, and it was the greatest thing because it changed the trajectory of my life by being introduced by one single person who then brought me into his dojo where I was surrounded by people who were better than me and I could learn from. And every single person there made me feel heard, seen, valued, like Brene Brown talks about. But then more importantly, what I've found is that they created a sense of belonging because
Mhm.
I did not want to leave. Like I wanted to do karate and judo more than anything in this world. And I felt that they saved a seat at the table for me every single day. And you couldn't pull me away. It was my literal currency. And I loved it. And I'm blessed that I was able to experience that through my life.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Some of the in your book you talk about the book is called The Sum of Four, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But in your book, you talk about this one other student at the dojo. Whenever they showed up, you just got so scared, so scared to fight them, and eventually you ended up taking them down. So yeah, as you know, one of the things we definitely want to talk about today is one, the discovering the power of a person's potential is one thing, and that you talk about. And I know, as leaders at credit unions, it's definitely something that is critical. And that doesn't matter if you're the CEO or the best darn marketer out there. There are leaders everywhere. But describe what that means to you as, and add into there too the resilience that is needed, especially in times like right now that could be a little uncertain, in particular for credit unions financially, but for
Sure.
humans financially.
Well, let's break that because you had asked like seven questions. Throughout my entire life, what I found is the easiest way for me to get to what I want to do or achieve what I want to achieve or have what I want to have is to connect myself with a mentor. And because that's the easiest route. And then to pick and choose the things that they give me, the nuggets the takeaways that can make me better, right? So I can learn from their mistakes. Or they can find my strengths and my weaknesses and push me in the right direction. Because it's one thing to see somebody somewhere and you want to chain that, but then there's another thing with that person really cares about you that much that they'll actually hold your hand and walk through that fire with you. And that's what I found has always worked for me. And that's that power of that mentorship. And I was surrounded by that as a young kid. And I grew up in that environment, which was a blessing in disguise. And what I realized very early on was that you can learn from anybody. It doesn't matter where you're from. And as long as you ask questions, they're going to pour all of their knowledge and experience and stories in you. And so I was a kid who was an extrovert naturally, but at the same time, it's like I was curious and I wanted to know. And only until the Japanese believe that you don't know something truly until you can teach it. And so I was forced to be able to start teaching at a younger age in my teens. And I realized like what the power of being a mentor or an instructor or a sensei or a senpai is what the Japanese call it, is there's something to that, to actually help someone, to be a leader to a whole group. And what I realized is that it was filling my reward bucket because when I make somebody better and it makes me feel good, of course, but really what it is it's reminiscing on the moment of the best times of my life. Like when a younger student or an athlete asks me, how did you do this? I get so excited because I get to relive the best parts of my life, like a movie, right? And so through a movie, we find that that maybe transforms somebody or it changes your behavior because that was a really good movie. And that's why we get excited. It's not only because it fills your reward bucket, because that's kind of vanilla, right? It's because it creates an emotion within you where it's a reminiscing. I get to relive the best times of my life. And that's the power of being a mentor. That's the power of being
Mm.
a great leader. So when you lead a team or an organization, your ability to connect with them, you kind of reminisce the best parts of your life when you were in their shoes. And that's the greatest reward bucket filler is that you get to relive and hopefully they're better than you are when you started teaching them because that's the best part of it is when they surpass you and that they're
Mm.
better today than they were yesterday and that you're better today than you were yesterday. And so that talks about the resilience part because resilience is like a rubber band, right? Like in martial arts, you do the splits, but eventually you start to shrink down. I mean, I'm almost 50 years old, so I don't do the splits like I used to. And unless you keep them up. And resilience is coming back to the same spot that you were before. And there's that I understand that, and people talk about resilience all the time now. Like you've got to be resilient, you got to keep getting up, and it's like you want to keep getting back up, but you want to get up better than you were the time before. And we all, as leaders or even as an employee, you're going to face challenges and setbacks in your life. And it's not going to be all green lights like Matthew McConaughey talks about. It's like you are going to have those red lights and sometimes yellow lights. And so when you're stuck with one of those challenges or setbacks in life, it's how you take that and how you decide to get back up. Because eventually, if you keep getting back up, you will win. But you have to keep getting better. And you're learning from those failures, you're learning from the setbacks, you're learning what works, what does not work. And if you have a great leader, if you have a great team, you can learn from employees too. They're making you better. So you're becoming resilient, but you are growing. And that's the trajectory you want to be on. Not just to be better or not just to be the same as you were before that setback, but you do want to grow and just always stay curious. And so I hope that kind of answers the resilient question.
Yes, absolutely.
But I think also to apply it to times of today, like people like we're in a time right now where we are getting bombarded by problems, and you're not the only person who's going to ever experience those things. And
Mhm.
I mean, we all navigate our life snows, right? Like rejection is when people tell you no, failure is when life is telling you no, and self-doubt is when we're telling ourselves no. And so we're constantly going to be bombarded by those. And especially in today's world, whether you're on doom scrolling or whatever, you're seeing other things, and it's like, oh, everything's against me. I can't pay my bills. My water heater went out. I can't make my mortgage payment. She said no to me when I asked her to marry me. I got the acceptance letter, but I didn't get accepted. I got denied. Like I didn't get the promotion. And then delivering the no can be just as challenging and fearful. So constantly we're fighting these rejections in our lives. And it's like, in today's world, how you change your perspective and how you look at it is so important. So when you walk in and if you're trying to get a job, let's say you're trying to get an HR job at a credit union and they deny you. Well, there's 1,000 credit unions, right? Like it probably
More,
just your
more now.
region, right? Just in
Yeah.
your region. So it's like it's not the end of the world. Being rejected is different than being ejected from a plane at 1,000 miles an hour when your face melts off like in Indiana Jones, right? It is totally different. It hurts, but it's not the end of the world. So, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to take that no, or are you going to flip a switch and actually do something about it and be better the next time? Are you going to ask the right question? Why didn't I not get this job? Why did this member not join? Like, what did we do wrong? What could we do to better ourselves to do that? And you have to ask the right questions. And if you ask the right questions, you're vulnerable enough and you want to learn and stay curious, you're going to be better the next time. And maybe it's just a door that you haven't unlocked yet, right? And if you find the key, as long as you keep getting up to that door and trying to find a way through, you eventually will find a way through. Because
Mm.
if that boulder's in front of you, you can crash through it, you can jump over it, you can go left, right, under it, you can dig it, or you can come back to it later. And that's life because life is going to be full of challenges. There's no straight line to anything that you want to achieve, whether that's a great leader, whether that's being starting a business and being an entrepreneur, writing a book, achieving the splits in martial arts, or asking somebody out on a date. Like you're going to get rejected all the time. So how you perceive it and what you do about it if you are rejected is the most important part.
For sure. Yeah, no, and credit union employees, they believe very much in the credit unions that they work for and the brand that they stand for and what they do in the communities. And so they often have a lot of great energy and ideas. And sometimes, they get a no. Everybody gets a no, like you said. But what's kind of silent afterward is it may just not be right now, or maybe the boss was cranky that day. Being persistent, resilient, getting it back up, figuring out how you get to the end point that you want to reach. I think that's perfect, and I'm sure we were talking about sports earlier and how much that feeds into leadership as
Yeah.
well. I know an executive who said he specifically would interview people who had some sort of competitive experience in their younger life or even in their adult life, as far as sports or theater or band, whatever it was that you had to compete to be, first chair or captain, whatever, because that really helps you build resilience as
Oh,
well as leadership internally.
because you're learning to be an adult early on in your life in school sports, right? And it's like you're going through all these setbacks because you're not going to win every game, right? Like most coaches, or think back to the best time that this relates to you. Like if you have your child in front of you and they lose the game and you go up, a good parent, a good teacher, a good coach is going to go up and say, it's okay, you did your best. Winning wasn't like the ultimate goal, but don't worry, there will be another game.
Hmm.
Because the reality is there will be another game. There will be another organization that can hire you for the same HR position, for the same manager position, for everything. There will be another opportunity to get a promotion. There will be another opportunity to do that, another game. And it's like how you look at it and how you look at life is going to be like, there will be another game. So why can we say that to a child, but we can't say that to ourselves? And the reason is because it hurts, like it sucks. It's
It
like we have
sucks,
this
yes.
scar, we have the scars. It's like, oh my gosh. And so the more experience, the more repetitions that you get on through your life, and this is what sports taught me, is like you become a little bit, you can deflect them a little bit more. You can pivot quicker, you can adapt quicker, you can become more resilient faster because you understand that on a scale of 1 to 10, a 10 being something that holds you back and it ruins your day, ruins your life, if you experience that 10, eventually not getting that home loan is going to be the 10 for you, right? And
Mhm.
just asking someone out and they say no is going to be a 1 now, right? And like if you didn't get your way, it's going to be a 1. So it's a different level of that emotion. And the more experience that you have, then the easier that level is. And so with sports, with me, it just taught me like, you're not going to win every competition. You're going to get beat
Mhm.
up. You're not going to get every yes. There are going to be a lot of doors you have to knock down. And Cindy Crawford, she applied for like 18 A's and they all denied her. And it was the 18th one that finally said, okay. And she became one of the probably the best supermodel of all time. But she
Sure.
was denied 18 times. It was just a not yet, right? And you cannot take things personally. And that's something that I learned as an actor and a model. Like I could go into a casting and the casting director could say, this guy reminds me of my brother. And I love my brother. Man, this guy's got the job. And I land a national commercial, right? Or I can walk into the same casting director and he can look at me and say, this guy reminds me of my brother. And I hate my brother. I
Yep.
am not getting that job. Like, I didn't do anything wrong, right? I can't take it personally. It's that person. So all we can do in anything that we do, what in any industry or in any life skill that you're wanting to achieve, it's like you can only do what you can control. And
Yeah.
anything else you got to let go of because it's
Yep.
not in your hands. You show up the best that you can and you continue growing and you stay curious and you surround yourself around people that do lift you up. And eventually, if you keep getting knocked down and you keep getting back up, you're going to win in the end.
Absolutely. Yeah. I always in my mind go back to, I think it was eighth grade basketball. And we're in the locker room at halftime. I had 4 fouls and we were losing to we were a top seed. We were losing to the lowest seed or one of the lower seeds. And our basketball coach was so mild mannered. He's coaching a bunch of prepubescent girls.
Yeah.
And he's just so mild-mannered, but we go in that locker room, he gave us hell, and we came out, we ended up, I played the whole second half, no fouls, we won the game after I don't know, I feel like it was like a 20-point deficit. But yeah, I think one of the things I learned and talking about mentorship and things like that was what really matters. You can get upset about. The other stuff is piddly. When
It
it
really
really
is.
matters, when you come down to like something important for you, then that's the time to maybe get upset and reconfigure your thinking and get things back on track. So
That
yeah,
is
one of
such
my
a
favorite stories.
that's a really good point. And I would want people to hear that because that applies into so many things. Like take for example, even being married to someone, right?
Mhm.
Like when you can never, I always say never say anything that you can't take back or that you don't do anything that you couldn't take back, right? So it's like it's so important to make sure that you are staying in alignment and it's like being able to be able to have those conversations and it's like you have to have a certain mentality when you're conversing with other people and you're putting themselves in their shoes and your ability to adapt and change is so important because like taking for example like you coming out and thinking differently and like okay this isn't the end we can win we can pick ourselves back up it is your mentality and it's
Mhm.
being able to survive those moments is so important and so critical and the more repetitions the more practice and experience you get in it the stronger it's going to make you whether that's in marriage or whether that's in at your job with your teams or whether that is with just like being an entrepreneur and putting yourself out there and being rejected and hearing those no's.
Yeah, for sure. And so we've talked a lot about like the one-on-one kind of leadership and development, but how is that different to when you're talking at an organizational structure level, the leadership and resilience as an organization?
Okay, well, one thing is that as a leader, it's up to you because I believe that it's not the big moments. In fact, the data shows that it's not actually the big moments that make somebody stay because we're in a time now where people feel that they don't have to stay anymore. They can
Mm.
leave, and they stay because they want to. And so that means that the way that you make people feel around you is more important than it ever is, right? How do you make
Mhm.
them feel in those moments? And a lot of people believe that it's the big moments, like, oh, it's the pay, it's the promotion that they didn't get. Or it actually, the data is showing that it's actually the small moments, the ones that you don't think about, like how you treat someone or the conversations that don't happen, whether or not they feel like they actually matter. And so, do they feel heard, seen, valued, and like they actually belong? And I mean, like putting your arm around somebody belong in a good way, right? It's like they want to be there. And so, how can you have those kind of connections with people? The easiest way is something that I call find your table. Like you spend when you're walking in Starbucks or something, and you see somebody go and you see somebody you go, "Hi, George," and you just walk out. Or do you stop and you take 2 minutes and you find out about them and you say, "Hey," and you take mental notes and you actively listen to that person. When you do that on a small scale of just one person, you take those mental notes, right? And those mental notes then become the equipment or the tools or the skills that you can then later use to create that real and genuine relationship with that one person. But imagine doing that on a team scale. If you take the time to actually get to know your team, and I don't mean like, let's have a quarterly meeting, let's have an all conference meeting, let's do a hoorah and let's feel good about where we're at. It's like, are you as a leader sitting down and getting to know your team on a deeper level? Are you unraveling that layer, right? Or do you just know them on the surface level? Because the easiest thing to do is to get to know somebody about them. Like, do they have kids? Do their kids like baseball? Why do they love martial arts? What's their favorite movie? What these stupid, I call them, icebreakers really do reveal so much about the people that work for you or the team members that your colleagues. Like put yourself out there, put a little time and effort. The little moments are going to pay a dividend way farther than the big moments of whether or not somebody feels that they got a great pay raise, right? And so it's taking those special moments, finding your table and sitting across from somebody and actively listening to them and hearing about them because they might reveal things to you that you didn't know. They might reveal things about the company that you didn't know. They might reveal something that you didn't know about yourself that you can improve. You're like, oh, and be
Hmm.
curious. And that just makes not only you grow, but the organization and the team and the company, and everybody grows. And so as the seas rise, everybody's rising. So my suggestion would be take a moment and actually get to know the person in front of you, whether that's on a micro
Mhm.
level, one-on-one, or as a team, and then have each other build each other. That's what I do love about mastermind groups, like picking and choosing all these different things. That's what I love about the getaways where people have these team events and you get to learn a little bit about more about each other. But what are you
Mhm.
questions are you actually asking when you're in those, right? Like why are we going to build this Lego together? There's a reason behind it. If you can understand the reason, then you, as Simon Sinek would say, you would understand that person's why. I call it your currency. If you know a child's currency, then you can get them to do things, right? Like if it's video games or if it's a driver's license or whatever, if you know their currency, you can pull out from them. And that's what a great leader and a great mentor does. If you can do that with your teams, you can get people to move mountains for you. That's how you get
Mhm.
people to scale. That's how you get people to do things that they don't want to do. That's how you get people to do things that they didn't believe that they could do. But that takes you taking the moment, the time, the effort, the small moments, the 3 to 5% edge is what I call it, about being grateful to them, showing your appreciation to them, giving them a magical moment, making them feel special, right? Like, do you send a thank you card? Do you remember that they like maple bars and they hate chocolate? Like those simple little things pay dividends long beyond just saying hello to somebody at Starbucks.
For sure. Yeah. No, when I first started my career, I was always trying to be very professional all the time, leave anything else at the door. And I, once I started opening up, being more personable with people was when I found they would work longer hours. They would understand better about why we were doing something, which helps people, it helps motivate people if they understand the actual why of what you're doing. And so, yeah, I totally experienced that in real life. I'm sure others have as well.
Well, and it
And
does. That's the greatest part. That's what I love about. So I speak to financial institutions and credit unions, but a lot of high trust industries. And that's what I love about
Mhm.
the credit union space is that they're already people, right? There it's like HR. It's like people do care. And so it's like, why is it they're doing it? Well, they do actually care. So what are they doing every single day to go that little bit above and beyond? And it's like, it's at Nordstrom. They come behind the counter and they hand you something, right? Like, here you go.
Mhm.
That's what credit unions do is they create that connection with a family, the legacy, the lineage. It's like it is more than just them. It's about
Mhm.
the member experience and the member. It's not about the credit union itself. And that's what's so special. And so if you can leverage that, and if people can you really go above and beyond with that a little bit, that 3 to 5% more every single time, that's what's going to be the
Mhm.
dividends because that makes you memorable, it makes you valuable, but it makes you referable. Because
Mhm.
I'm going to tell everybody about the credit unions that I belong to because they made me feel special. They actually came behind the counter and they high-fived my kid. They called me and they said, "Hey, that our interest rate just dropped a whole percent for your car loan. Maybe you should do that." Major financial institutions don't do that. They don't know who I am. And so it's like that kind of connection that the credit unions have, that's the bread and butter. That's what
Mhm.
that separates them.
And it gets back to that belonging you mentioned in the dojo, like having that community. And in a world where credit unions are getting beaten up at times by fintechs like Chime and Dave and others, which is totally not a personal relationship. It's entirely through your phone. But yeah, that belonging is more important now, I think, as people become more isolated, working from home more, all those kinds of things. So belonging, emphasizing that belonging is so critical, I think, to the differentiation of credit unions like you were talking about. Now, we're running way over time and I'd love to go more, but I always allow my guests to leave our credit union executive audience with final thoughts. What would you like to leave them with today?
That's super simple. Are you ready?
Yes.
Think about a way that you can go 3 to 5% more in order to make somebody feel special. What are you going to do every single day? And it's just the little moments that you're going to make somebody feel heard, seen, valued, and like they actually belong. Because
Mhm.
when you lift somebody up, you are lifting yourself up. And the flip side to that is that you are who you are. You have what you have because of a long list of people that have helped get you there, like a CVS receipt long, right? And I want to continue adding to that receipt line, right? I want people that lift me up. And so by giving that 3 to 5% edge and pushing people to get them to believe in themselves, to find their greatest potential, that's the greatest thing. But to remember your roots. And the easiest thing that you can do to remember your roots is think of 3 or 4 people and reach out to them and let them know how they made a difference in your life and let them know. Because that not only will fill your reward bucket, but it's going to blow their mind. They might not even know that something they did or said changed the trajectory of your life. What better way to give back to your teams, to yourself, to your community, to anybody that you know, than to lift them up and say, I
Mm.
am who I am because of something you said, something you did, changed my life. Man, that is like
Love
big
those
fat power.
comments.
So get your phone out, go to your contacts, slide through it, and whoever it lands on, there's a reason they're in there. Call them and tell them, let them know why they're in there. And it might
Mhm.
make their day and it might make your day. And if you feel comfortable, tell Sarah about it. She'll want to know.
Yep, for sure. Thanks so much, Blue, for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you.